Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family. What's happening? To the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on? And to New Life Evangelistic Center family, headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our amazing cameraman, Bob. On that note, we're going to have another great show because in studio with me is a very profound young man who is both a educator and a farmer. And I'm speaking none other than Brother Mitch Pearson, who also is head of Phi Global LLC. Welcome to Conversation with Zaki.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Whenever I begin my shows, we always want our guests to share some background information about themselves. So wherever you want the thousands of people listening to know about Mitch Pearson, would you please share?
Yeah, I'm a retired educator, and I'm also a farmer. Here in St. Louis, we have a farm in Spanish Lake, and we teach sustainable farming. And what we go out into the communities, and we teach people how to use nature, organic material to build their soil so their plants can be healthy and they can produce food. Okay,
then. So in terms of Phi Global LLC, that's your business?
Yes.
I mean, what is, explain that for the people.
Phi Global LLC is actually an urban farm school mechanism.
Okay.
We have about 13.5 acres in Spanish Lake, and we grow food. We grow sustainably grown food, not organic, because that's a specific term. But we teach people how to grow that food. We have composting out there. We have all sorts of natural avenues to get people to get connected or reconnected to growing their own food. We work in some of the schools in the area. We work with some churches, community centers. We also work with some individuals to teach them how to grow, because it's really important to have that nutrition, that high nutritional value product at your fingertips. That's why a lot of cultures have those open-air farmers markets, and you go buy your produce every day. And we're so far removed from that, we need to get back toward that.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you're in that field because, quite honestly, there's not a lot of black people that is in urban farming. So let's digress a little bit in terms of your history again. How did you, first of all, you say you're a farmer educator.
Yeah.
How long, and I'm asking that because I'm a farmer educator myself.
Right.
And was very outspoken in School District 189, and I was a union activist.
Okay.
So in terms of, first of all, when we're talking about education, because that's really dear to me, off air we were talking about our different educational experiences growing up. I grew up, went to an urban school district, 189, all predominantly black teachers and schools. Share your background on that.
Mine is pretty much opposite. I grew up out in the country, so to speak. And going back to 1960, when I was supposed to...
In the country, where is it?
Right outside of Wichita,
Okay.
Kansas.
Now, where I grew up, it was almost like the country, let me just
Okay,
say that.
yeah.
Okay,
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so you were out of Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas, yeah.
Okay, and you went through that public school system. Was it segregated, or, we're, I think, close to the same age group.
Right. Well, they began to integrate it in 1960, because I was scheduled to go to an all-black elementary school, but they closed that down.
Okay.
If you were to drive to that location right now, you'd be standing in the middle of a highway.
Okay.
Right? So they closed that down, and we went over to a predominantly white school. It was probably 20%, 15% black folks, African Americans, maybe about 15, 20% Mexican Americans, and then European Americans. And along that process, always I figured out as an educator, they had a tracking system, right? And in the tracking system, most people in the slower class or the problem class were pretty much brown and black folks in there. Right?
Okay.
So I saw the difference. I knew it was something going on.
So the slower classes were really, people of color.
Yeah, because they were troublemakers, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Because, they never really integrated schools. They just desegregated schools.
Okay.
Because they didn't bring our history with us when we came to those schools.
Absolutely.
We had to learn about Benjamin Banneker and Thomas Jefferson, Sally Heming, all those people at home and at church and in the community. So they didn't have that in our school.
Okay.
So there's a difference there.
So how was, okay, so you went to elementary, did you feel welcome in the integrated school system growing, desegregated school system?
Well, here's the deal. You didn't know any different because that was your only school experience.
Okay.
But one thing that my parents always taught us, because people would come home and say, oh, my teachers are prejudiced.
Uh-huh.
My parents said, we know that, but you let us take care of that. You get your education. You don't want those prejudiced teachers or whoever to stand in your way of education.
Okay.
So when we went to school, it was like, get your lesson, go home and do that. Don't worry about us. The parents would take care of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience was, predominantly black all the way through from first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And, off air again, we were sharing with favorite teachers or teachers that motivated. I can name right off 7, 8, 9 teachers that motivated me in school.
Yeah.
And what about you, real quick, before we have to take a break?
No, I can remember off the top of my head just one.
Just one.
White teacher, 10th grade English.
Okay.
But she just kind of pushed me to do better.
Okay.
And I liked reading and writing, so she kind of connected with me. Also, I had a coach, black coach, who was really instrumental to all of us, because in some of those integrated schools or desegregated, there's not that many black teachers there. So you find those who understand you and work with you.
Okay, then. On that note, we're going to take a quick break.
As I walk in the woods, talking to God, I feel His Spirit impress me. Yes, as believers, we must do even more to help those that not only are living outside, but those that are in cold, dark homes, those that can't afford those gas bills anymore, those electric bills that just keep going up and up and up. Thank God if you have heat in your home. But please, let us not forget those that don't. And what a big difference for good we can make if we will just let God's light and love flow through us. As we remember that He is the source, we're the channels. As we come to Him, trusting Him, and freely share of our gifts, we will see Him do exceedingly beyond what we can even ask or think. We're trying to help the hurting that can't pay those utility bills at the New Life Evangelistic Center. That's why we need your prayers at this time. We need your partnership. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, or www.nlecstl.org.
Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise Him, my Savior and my God. Psalm 12:11. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, for His mercy endures forever. Psalms 113:1.
As the temperatures plummet, we need you more than ever before to get involved with New Life Evangelistic Center. You will save lives. Hundreds of men and women are experiencing these bitter cold temps outside. Please give your gift to help us purchase the propane heaters, the hats, the gloves, the tents, the sleeping bags, life-giving resources for those in need. There are so many people who are hurting. Imagine yourself out there with the wind blowing. You can't feel your hands, your feet. You're so cold. That's the reality of so many people. You can give your gift by sending it to P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri 63166, or go online to nlecstl.org. Give today and save a life this winter.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki. Baruti. In studio with me is Mitch Pearson. And Mitch, going back to your background, you got your education again from where?
Park College, Okay, Kansas State Art Institute, Wichita State University, University of Kansas, and Baker University.
Okay, and where did you teach at?
I taught, my first teaching job was in Louisville, Kentucky. And I taught elementary school. And they gave me a multicultural curriculum to develop and to teach. So I taught about, all the different continents, different people, different cultures.
Right.
And we really based it on food because food is so culturally relevant.
Right. Now, how long did you teach?
And I taught for 30 years totally.
Your analysis of public education.
I think public education system is obsolete. I've been saying that for years.
Okay.
Because as we change in our culture, the public schools didn't change to meet the needs of our culture in America.
Right, right, and I'm in total agreement. In fact, I've written a couple of booklets when I was an educator, and I was very outspoken in the public education system. Was taken out of high school for writing a public letter criticizing the principal. Mm-hmm. So with that said, though, going back to your work, so you taught, how long?
I taught for 30 years.
For 30 years, okay then. Now, you're still teaching Phi Global LLC.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any interaction with what you're doing with any of the public school systems here in the area?
Yes, I teach in both in the city and out in the county.
Okay, and when you, is that like, explain the setup.
Okay, what we do, we identify certain schools who have an interest in learning about sustainable gardening, agriculture, the whole process. And we go into the schools and we have our curriculum. We teach about soil, we teach about composting, teach about plants. This fall we even had a feast at one of our middle schools, and we had grown greens.
Greens.
Mustard and mustard collard greens. We had, and also at the farm we grew chickens early this year.
Okay.
So we had fresh chicken. We had collard greens, mustard greens. We had sweet potatoes that we grew.
Okay.
But we also had cornbread and other stuff. But we had a really nice feast to connect the why. This is why you do this, so you can feed yourself. And that went over real well.
Now, part of your working with the public school system, do you have a hands-on where the students come out and kind of feel the soil and
sure.
that kind of thing?
That's
Explain how
critical.
that works.
That's critical.
Right.
We do both. We have raised beds at the farm, and then they have an opportunity, at the schools, raised beds at the schools. And then they have opportunities to come to the farm to see the chickens and the goats and, see how things are grown on a bigger scale.
Now, in that you work with the public schools and there are those out here in our community, I'm sure, that would like to be able to learn how to farm. In fact, isn't there a concept that's out there about people in their own backyards creating some farms?
Yes.
So do you work with, do you offer the public that kind of service?
What happens is that we do, but we have to, when you contact us, we'll go through a process to where we figure out what you need. And if we fit or not, sometimes we don't fit we can't fit everybody. But if you have a garden, or ideas about a garden, or want to put together a garden in your backyard, we'll be more than happy to show you, teach you, give you information on how to do that.
Oh, okay then. Now, also, do you sell any of your produce publicly?
Yeah, what we do, we have about 3 farmers markets that we supply to around the city, and we do that. And we have a donation system. So when you come out to the farm, then you pick food. It's a goodwill kind of system to where just donate money.
Right.
You can donate as much as you want or whatever you have.
Okay then. On that note, we'll have to take a quick break.
Deuteronomy 32, verse 4. He is the rock, his work is perfect. For all his ways are law and justice. A God of faithfulness, without breach or deviation. Just and right is he. Psalm 37, verse 6. Remember, he'll make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. And we see in Proverbs 29:7, the righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. Jeremiah 5:28,
They've grown fat and sleek. Yes, they surpass in deeds of wickedness. They do not judge and plead with justice the cause of the fatherless, that they may prosper and that they do not defend the rights of the needy. As Isaiah 59:14 says, justice is turned away backward, and righteousness, uprightness and right standing with God, stands far off. For truth is fallen in the street, and unrighteousness cannot enter the courts of justice.
There are so many people who work in our community glorifying God with the gifts that they have, and we thank Zaki for doing that regularly with us. You can make a difference too by partnering alongside New Life Evangelistic Center. If you're tired of seeing all of the pain and the hurting around you in your community, and you're ready to get into the trenches and to work alongside a ministry that has been doing this work for so long, consider and pray helping New Life Evangelistic Center to be there when people are hurting. Zaki has done that for many years, and we're so thankful for that. You can be a part of the difference too. You can be a part of the team, God's team, of working to help heal the hurts of hurting people in our community. We would love to partner alongside you. Please contact us soon to get involved with the work of New Life Evangelistic Center.
Welcome back to Conversation with Mitch Pearson, who is the CEO, founder of Phi Global LLC, and he's a farmer. And we don't see a lot of educators and farmers with that same occupation. Why is farming important?
Wow. Farming, to me, is democracy, because you have to share. You know, you need people to either help you grow the food or people to sell food to you. You have to have that conversation. You know, the Greek word is demos and kratos, which means people power. It's people power. Mm-hmm. And agriculture is culture. Every culture has a different way of preparing food. It's critically important. And also nutrition. You know, you can either pay a farmer now or you can pay a doctor later. And there's statistics to prove it over and over that if you eat properly, you're going to have a whole lot better chance of staving off all these ills that we get as we process through our aging. Absolutely.
Going back in terms of little history and education, again about the farmers. I know there was a farmer organization that filed some lawsuits. Do you know of those cases?
That's probably the Pickford versus Dan Glickman.
Explain that to our
audience. And what that is, that they found out that the USDA had its thumb on the scale.
And the USDA, I just want our people to know, what is that?
United States Department of Agriculture.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And he filed a lawsuit.
Right.
For what purpose again?
Because they were withholding information, withholding their ability to farm. You know, for get loans, whatever.
Right. Yeah. What they call redlining. They was keeping a lot of the black farmers from getting loans to maintain their farms and what have you. Okay. Then. Now, there's a move in terms of charter schools. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts in terms of public schools, charter schools, that kind of whole set?
You know, when I finished getting my principal certification, I thought about opening up a charter school myself. But once I started looking into it, I looked at actually who runs the schools. They have a board, but they really don't have the democratic process there. For me, public schools is just that. It's for the community. The PTOs and all that should be functioning. And that doesn't always happen in charter schools. Mm-hmm. And also charter schools, they play by different rules. Is it happening
in the public schools in terms of parent-teachers organizations?
Yes, it's there. It's there if people want to participate. Uh-huh. Some schools have really heavily participants with parents. Some have not as much.
What are some of the causes of low parent-teacher organization?
There's a lot of factors. You know, being an educator, being an administrator, you get a chance to talk to the parents. A lot of parents come from single parent, environments, working 3 or 4 jobs, and they're barely making it from day to day. So they don't have time to go be part of that school board. But if you're more affluent and you have some resources and time and that commitment and you understand what's going on, you're going to participate more because you're less marginalized. We'll use that word.
And so you at one time thought about starting a charter school, and again, why did you not?
Well, first of all, you have to keep paying. There's a certain amount of money it takes to run a school, and where are you going to get those fundings from? You know, that's a vicious cycle right there. And number two, if you look at the breakdown, public schools and charter schools are different. In a charter school, you don't have to take every child. In a public school, you have to take them.
Okay.
In charter schools, you know, they don't have the governing body. It's different. You might take a charter school and plop it into a community, but nobody has any say, real say. They may say something, but you don't have the power to make those decisions.
Now, you know, there's a current struggle going on in the St. Louis school system where there are a number of movements, parent and teachers movement, actually unions, to speak out on charter schools. So is there an influx of charter schools in the St. Louis public area?
Not only in St. Louis, but around the country.
Okay.
And I would advise everybody to study what happened in New Orleans, what's going on in some of these cities around the United States, where those schools are. You know, where are those charter schools being organized and put? Now, if charter schools
Now, when you
were that
mentioned the
great,
study
yeah.
in terms of people seeing what happened in New Orleans, what happened in New Orleans?
Well, they went to, 90% charter schools, some crazy number?
From public schools to 90%
Charter schools, it's way up there, yeah.
Wow.
You know,
wow.
check it out. Don't take my word for it. Check it out.
Okay.
But there's so many problems with it because you don't have the community involvement that public schools should have. Public schools should be run by the parents because their children are there.
Mm-hmm.
They should have a voice. And if you eliminate that voice, you don't know what your children are being taught.
So you're saying for the charter schools, there's no input from the parents. Is that what you're saying in
I'm saying they don't have, look at the governing body.
Okay.
What is their power, their democratic responsibility, rights as a parent to make decisions at that school?
Right. Well, let me ask this question then of you. There was a movement in the early 60s, 70s in the St. Louis public schools where to move to send students to suburban schools.
Yeah.
Okay, desegregation. Because the logic was that they were not receiving proper quality education. Am I correct or what have
Yeah,
you?
pretty much, yeah.
So do you see the quality of education in the public schools haven't improved to address that, so there becomes no need for the students to be shipped out, as well as
Well, that's the thing of it that it has to be, instead of shipping people out of their communities, invest in the community.
Right.
You know, instead of having children stand on the bus stop at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, and have them so they can walk into a school building down the street at 7 o'clock in the morning and be safe.
Now, when you say, invest in the school system, that means dollars.
Yes.
So we got to examine that on the other side of the break.
Hello, I'm Larry Rice, Director of New Life Evangelistic Center and LLC TV, and I come to you now and I ask you just to please pray and consider becoming a partner with us here so that we can continue to keep conversations with Zaki, Baruti on the air. It's only because of the faithful support of individuals like you that we can provide this service along with a multitude of services to the poor, the fatherless, the widowed, the hurting, and the homeless. Your prayers, your gifts right now are absolutely essential as we confront gentrification in our community of rich and powerful people that want the poor and homeless out of sight and out of mind. We're trying to get 1411 open back up again. We can do that if you will help us, but we need your help now to keep conversations with Zaki on the air and to help those that are hurting and need. And it's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or you can discover us online by going to nlecstl.org. Thank you for praying.
Behind me is the New Life Evangelistic Center administrative offices in Overland, Missouri. And this is where we shoot our shows for our worship shows and the Here's Help Network. And it's also where Zaki Baruti and Bernie Hayes shoot their shows. You can find all of these shows at the New Life Evangelistic Center app, the NLEC TV app. You can also access them on your tablet or on your computer. And this is how you can stay up to date with all the things that New Life Evangelistic Center is doing. So if you want to support the work that New Life is doing, then please access and give through the app. You can go online at nlecstl.org or give us a call at 314-421-3020. Again, 314-421-3020. But this is the best way to get plugged into the amazing work that New Life is doing through people like you. And so there is something for you to get involved in today. And we are so thankful for our partners. Only through the grace of God and your gift are we able to bless others today.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. We only have a couple more minutes with Brother Mitch Pearson, who's both an educator and a farmer. And on the other side of the break, we were talking about education, and you were suggesting for the public schools it need to be a greater investment. Mm-hmm. And I was saying that means dollars, don't it?
Yes.
Share with us very briefly in terms of
as an educator, they asked me a long time ago, what would you do to change public schools? Number one, you got to double the teacher salaries. You got to put those salaries up there where you can compete with all the other talent, right? Number two, cut those classes in half. And number three, put teachers on a track to where they can get their PhD.
Now, you know what? I'm high-fiving.
Because public education, that's the most important thing in a democracy.
So why is not the government, because the dollars for education comes from the government, state of Missouri, and the federal government. Yeah. Why is that not happening?
Well, I think it's politics. Because we are browning as a country. We're becoming more and more brown, and I don't think a lot of people want to see brown people have that kind of power. To participate in a we the people, this is a we the people government. We need to be participating and teaching our children how to participate in it. We're all out of balance now. Okay.
Well, I'm going to have you back because this education is deep. It really impacts, I'm emotionally tied to education, being a former educator. Now, for anybody who wanted to get in contact with you as relates to farming or, Phi Global LLC, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can go to saveslps.com.
Say that again.
saveslps.com.
And what is Save SLPS?
That's an organization that's really trying to work to make sure that we have a healthy public school system in the St. Louis area.
So my people, SLPS means St. Louis Public Schools. Yes. So Save St. Louis Public Schools. And why is it vital for the people? And save them from what? Real quick again.
Okay, say that again.
Save the public schools from what?
From decay.
Decay.
To become vibrant, functioning public school systems so that we can bring our children up in a democracy, a true democracy, so they can vote, they can have civil rights, know where they are, all that, sit on juries and be responsible, and also get a fair wage as a citizen.
I know that's right. Okay, then, well, look here, I appreciate you sitting in the chair in our conversation. Like I said, I'm going to have you back. Mm-hmm. And for my audience, again, like always, know the issues that's going to be coming up in the nearest future and around elections. Make sure you know the issues. Make sure you go out and vote and take somebody with you. As well as for those who are not part of an organization, we say everybody needs to belong to an organization. We encourage you to join the Universal African Peoples Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you.